Hi guys, I'm Keisha.
And I'm Josephine.
And we are medical students from AMSA IMU, bringing you the 6th episode of our podcast, Trust Me, I'm a Doctor, Almost. And for this episode, our theme is Our Future in Medicine, Behind the White Coat. This podcast was created to have a platform where medical students can reach out to professionals and gain insights into their respective fields.
So today, we are honored to introduce you to our guest speaker from this episode, Dr. Surendran Thuraisingham. Dr. Thurai obtained his medical degree from the University in London before specialising in cardiology in the Royal College of Physicians of the United Kingdom. Dr. Thurai is currently working as a consultant cardiologist in Cardiac Vascular Central Kuala Lumpur, or CVSKL, which is where we are currently hosting this episode. It is an honour to have you here today, Doctor. And before we start off our episode, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for taking the effort of coming all the way out here to CVS to talk to me today. It's a great pleasure to be able to address you and all of you who are watching to learn something from this session, which I hope I can contribute. As you heard, my name is Surendran Thuraisingham. I'm a cardiologist, a general cardiologist, and I've been in this field since about 1989, way before your parents even thought about you guys.
Before we were born.
Before I even thought about you. Right. And it's evolved quite a lot since this whole journey began. I qualified in 1985, as you heard, from London University, and did my housemanship in the UK. Did my senior house officer and registrar training in the UK. And the system there and the training is very much similar to what it is in Malaysia now and was in Malaysia when I came back. So the transition wasn't too difficult. The decision to go into cardiology was there right from the beginning because I'd been exposed to it as a young boy. My father's a doctor with an interest in cardiology, so I guess that was kind of something I knew about and went in with my eyes open. I did my registrar training in London and in Cambridge, and then I went to Papworth Hospital there, which is a heart center. And then at that time, I thought, I can come back to Malaysia now. I'm adequately, I had the basics under my belt, and it was a good time to come back home. I was the eldest son, and I held that filial responsibility to come back to my parents. So I came back in 1992, and very fortunate to have a job at the University of Malaya Medical Center, UH at that time. And I was a general lecturer in medicine. Everybody had to do medicine and serve in the Department of Medicine. And my area of interest was cardiology. And I was doing the stuff cardiologists do on the day I arrived at UH. That's about the journey then. And then the rest is private medicine, which is not exciting for most people, but it was a natural evolution for me for what I wanted to pursue in my life.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. You basically answered our first two questions already.
Maybe I can spell it out or, tease it out in more detail if you want.
Yeah, okay. Of course.
Just ask me specifically what your questions are.
We're going to ask you the most general question that everyone asks a medical student or doctor. So, Dr. Thurai, what inspired you to become a doctor?
Right. I mean, people from my era, especially if you came from a professional family, would always end up doing a professional orientated university guided career, right? So
Lawyer
it was, exactly. So you all know the usual traditional professional roles. And my dad was a doctor, my mom was a teacher, and I was obviously always leaning towards sciences in my school. And my studies. So everything was geared towards doing science. And all you know is science. When you reach that university picking time, you're either going to engineering or medicine, really. Biochemistry and those things were less career suited, right? I mean, unless you become an academic or go into industry. So father doctor, uncle doctor, family all doctor, lawyer. So it was very boring and unadventurous. But I felt safe because I knew what I was getting into. And so I picked medicine because it's where I felt science is applicable in the most human manner. I love interacting with human beings. And so I think that's why medicine is the obvious choice.
It was a safe choice. You knew.
Safe.
Yeah.
Safe. I knew what I was getting into. I was surrounded by people in my situation. And it was science. It was science subjects. And, it was a natural evolution to go into something science-related, but with a human touch.
Did your parents, ever oppose you from doing doctors?
Oppose? No.
Yeah.
I mean, they were very encouraging, as you can imagine. That's what they would have dreamt for me to do.
Right.
Of course, I have to say, my first preference, my passion was aircraft. From a very, very young age, I was really into aircraft. I knew everything about every jet engine, aeroplane designs. I could tell a plane from the age of 7 from another aeroplane. I could tell from the sound of a jet engine what engine it was. I was obsessed by planes. So the crunch time came. So even for my A-levels, I picked subjects that opened the option for both engineering, aeronautical engineering, or medicine. And it's only when the crunch time I had to decide medicine or aeronautical engineering. And my dad came out with a sucker punch below the belt line. He says, if you come back to Malaysia, you might end up just servicing 747s in the MAS, get a hangar. And so that kind of bolt hit me, and I thought, okay lah, be a boring doctor.
Well, I mean,
that's the decision.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. I mean, your both careers, I feel like, are quite difficult also. I mean, aircraft engineering, right? That takes some time to learn and study as well.
Yeah.
I mean, even medical school, I'm sure you had to go through a lot of difficulties, and there were a lot of things that you had to overcome even in your medical career.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you'd like to share something along those lines?
Okay, I mean, unlike most of you IMU students who are all very brilliant and ace scoring. No. I know the kind of people who get into IMU, and I know some kids of your era who got into IMU and other medical schools. You're really the creme de la creme. I was definitely not the brightest group, and amongst the brightest kids in my year. I was very much a middle-of-the-road guy. I never failed an exam ever, but I never excelled or was an A-star student or, all that kind of stuff. No, I was just a good general all-rounder. And, it's really, when I applied for med school, my predictions were so bad that the housemaster said, I don't think you'll get into medicine like this. And it literally, divine intervention, a miracle happened for me to get into medical school. I didn't meet my target grades, and I was resigned to resetting some of my one A-level subject to try and get into medical school. And then a letter came in the post saying, despite you missing your target grades, we think you'll still make a fabulous doctor, and we'll give you the chance by admitting you to St. Thomas's Hospital, which is one of the most sought after teaching hospitals in London. And I couldn't believe it. And I really really God intervened for me there.
Yeah.
And then I really had this like a turbocharger under me to drive me for now. I'm actually accepted to medical school, and a really good medical school. And so from that moment, I just fell into it straight. It was pretty straightforward. I didn't win any medals at medical school like my partner here. He won every medal on the wall there. You can see all his awards, and so yeah. I mean, but I enjoyed it, and I didn't really struggle too much. Yeah.
All I was gonna say was, I was telling Tim that my one cert from medical school would just only take like a quarter, not a quarter, like 1/10 of that wall.
Yeah.
And like imagine what I have to go through, what we have to go through.
So
we're looking directly at a wall of certificates right now.
Wall of fame. A wall of fame.
Wall of fame.
Yeah.
Too bad you won't be able to see it. Maybe you come and visit him.
Yeah. Yeah. Come and see Dr. Kim Tan, my partner. Yeah. So
and doctor, of course.
no, I have about 1/4 his 1/5 his number of
We don't even have one yet.
got a long way to go.
So I mean, your story itself is really inspiring because I mean, I'm sure a lot of us we also feel the struggle in medical school. Like we don't feel smart. We feel like we can't do it. We can't make it. I'm sure like during our final year exam, both of us we were texting each other thinking if we fail, that's it, man. We're gonna drop out because we give up.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
But Tim, girls always think they fail, right? They come out of the exam, they all we fail. And then we are consoling them, don't worry, I'm sure it'll be okay. And then we fail, and we are the ones who get the rubbish results and they pass. Same old story.
No, but like it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of people like excel crazily, and but despite like them excelling, I'm sure they also have their own challenges that they face. It's just that we face more challenges because we have to like compete with them, for like places in the partner schools. And continue,
in
sorry.
your medical career, what kind of difficulties did you have to face?
Yeah, I think my biggest difficulty was when I finished, I got my MBBS. I did my house jobs, had a fantastic time, worked really, really hard. During our time as housemen, I know you hear this from all the old farts, right? In our time, we did this and that, right? And I'm going to say the same thing because we were on call from Friday morning until Monday night, non-stop, right? And the team I was working with in the hospital, the boss did not allow us to read from the notes of any patient we clocked. So we'd get an average of 15 admissions per day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
That's so dangerous, actually, right?
And we would then sleep maybe, if we're lucky, 12 hours over that whole period of time. And on the Monday evening, there was a grand round, all the consultants, and we would have to present all the patients from memory, including their blood results, without looking at the notes. So that was, and if we got it wrong, we got screwed royally. So that was the kind of pressure, and it was very emotionally challenging. And I did. That was a baptism of fire, but with that kind of training as a houseman, life is easy after that, right? So we would work like crazy for. Why? Why are you laughing so much?
Oh no, it's like laughing in pain, because that's our future.
No. I mean, I can tell you that even 2-3 years later, when my brother, followed my footsteps and became a doctor, it was far more sensible, humane, and fair. So I think things have improved a lot, and that was a particularly rough housemanship. The other part of my housemanship was quite civilized.
Okay.
We used to be on call from the pub.
Oh no!
That was an era where you could have a drink while you're on call, and the on-call phone was in the local pub across the road from the hospital.
Oh, okay. So when you have to go back, you can just. If you can walk.
Of course,
there.
no. You would obviously we'll only have one or two drinks max the whole evening, but that was a different era,
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So housemanship was very mixed. Surgery was easy. Medicine was that particular unit was very tough. Yeah.
Would you say a lot of people say that medical school was one of the best times in their life, like in their whole medical career. Would you say you prefer had more fun in houseman?
Absolutely, medical school was the best time of my life. That's why I don't have so many so many certificates, and because I really enjoyed every minute of it. And of course, being in the middle of London was wonderful. New adventures, new experiences, theater, cinema, movies, all that was just around, and it was good fun. Nice bunch of people around you.
Are there any specific moments that made you feel really fulfilled as a medical student and also as currently as a doctor?
As a medical student, what was fulfilling?
Be like a lecturer saying, "Good job, doctor."
Yeah, I mean, when you get a good grade at the end of a term, or we used to have a firm party every 3 months at the end of the firm where we would have to entertain our bosses. We would have to, invite them to our crummy
Wow.
digs, and they would come, and it'd be great. We have a party. There'll be music. There'll be alcohol. And we'll get some food, and then when your boss because everybody's very stiff and formal during the lectures, and that's when they really let their hair down. Some bosses will say, "I never saw you the whole firm. Were you around?" And then you feel, "Oh no." Or some bosses will say, "You were really outstanding," and you thought, you may have got screwed up by them big time on the ward rounds and all, but when they turn around and say, "You were really good and you're going to go far," moments like that really stuck and encourage.
Yeah.
Of course, when they told you were disaster, then that also stuck. So yin and yang, right? So it goes all both ways. Yeah, but medical school is good. When you're a houseman and you've done a whole weekend on call, like I described, you got all the patients right, you made your diagnosis right, and you remembered the histories, and then at the end of the round, when we all disappear off, the boss pats you on the back and he says, "Well done," then you just feel that, oh boy, I survived that, and it was all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope someone, a doctor, will say that to me next time. And doctor, you've been in this field for a very long time, and we can tell that you're very experienced as well. And what we would like to ask is, how would you say your practice of medicine has evolved since you started your career?
How has my practice evolved? I mean, my practice evolved based on my location. As a university lecturer, it was one style of practice and one workload. And then when I went into private practice, it was a completely different pattern of work and workload. And then when I moved hospital from Sunway to come here, there was another change. So it has evolved in that sense, but the practice of medicine has evolved very slowly and gradually. And I don't think that's something you discern. Every day there's something new you learn, or you adopt a new practice. So that's a natural, slow-moving, glacier that when you look back, suddenly realize you did things quite differently 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But those changes have come upon us slowly and gradually and naturally. So it's not like, wow.
It's not like a drastic change.
No.
Yeah. And especially like with technology nowadays, I think it has changed slowly. Like you will start to learn, and then when you look back now, you realize that it changed quite a lot. And do you feel like the modern technology has impacted your practice?
Yeah, it has. I mean, technology has definitely come into medicine big way, as you know, especially diagnostics and therapeutic areas. I think it's been a huge plus. It is how we adopt the technology that's critical. In this era of private medicine and the booming healthcare organizations and insurance business, it's all become very defensive and very, I think there's been a lot of bad medicine because people do lots of things in a defensive manner. Unnecessary investigations are done abundantly. And there are lots of people who get caught out for practicing good medicine by trying to avoid doing unnecessary tests, and then in the end regret their sensible approach to medicine. And I think the cost of healthcare with insurance premiums going up and more investigations being done, it's just an unhealthy direction it's heading. But I think AI will certainly help many areas, of especially the mundane parts like looking at slides, histopathology, X-rays, reporting X-rays. They can take away the mundane, chorey bits of medicine, improve our diagnostic skills, and stop mistakes happening. So I think AI is going to really help progress the field significantly.
Well, I mean, so what you're saying is that you think that medicine is evolving for sure, but in a direction that is both bad and good.
Yes, absolutely. I think managed healthcare has been dangerous and unhealthy, and has led to lots of bad practices. And
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? What do you mean by bad practices? And
well, everybody has become. I mean, patients have evolved to feel they have the right to demand what tests they think is best for them.
Yes.
Patients come and order the tests they think they want to do. And very often these tests will lead to results that will lead to unnecessary further investigations and then unnecessary procedures and money, and that leads to higher insurance premiums, and it's just a spiral. And it's also very tempting for doctors to practice unethically for financial gain. The temptations are there, and the whole insurance business and the risk of litigation all together justify a lot of unnecessary practices or make the doctors feel they're justified. So, and patients want more and more tests done because it gives them a sense of confidence. So the test may not be interpreted correctly, etc. So I think it's unhealthy.
I mean, how do you actually approach these kind of situations then? Like, if you see a patient that wants unnecessary tests, then you have to talk to them and stuff, or like if you're...
I spend more time telling people they don't need tests than trying to convince people to do tests. Because this is the climate we are in, private medicine, and we do a lot of health screening. And yes, sometimes we tell somebody, don't do a test, and the likelihood of them having something bad there is very, very low, but it may turn out that they do have something bad. And then they'll turn around and they'll say, I want to do that, and you said I didn't qualify for that kind of test. And you can think of one case and that can completely skew your practice going forward, right? So that kind of situation does arise. But then the harm you do by doing unnecessary tests to thousands of other people who need not have had that test has to be balanced against the missing of the occasional case, right?
Well, I mean, Acacia and I were, when we were preparing for this podcast episode, we were wondering what actually constitutes a doctor, or like makes up a doctor that is actually qualified to be considered, I would say, successful, but not in a way that is
Not financially.
Yeah, not financially, or like
as in
they have too many qualifications, or whatever. More of like the ethical side and how they approach their patients. And
I think what I've learned is that to be the successful doctors give their patients the greatest sense of satisfaction and confidence. That means sometimes doing inappropriate tests Instead of us being dogmatic, you say, I know what is best for you. You do not need this test because there's no way you have this or no way you have that problem. But the patient leaves, says, yeah, that's your word, but they're not satisfied. They have not had deeper inner healing or sense of reassurance.
Yeah.
Okay,
Send them for
because
therapy.
yeah, well, yeah, no, seriously, a lot of people have, and it's the doctor's personal ego and feeling that he knows what is right,
Yeah.
trying to impose his control over a patient's sense of well-being and confidence, and that's where the clash. A doctor who manages that best gives the patient enough confidence without doing a test, by his reassurance, by his presence, by his words, or a doctor who knows which patient to do the test for because he knows this will reassure the patient instead of imposing his own personal view. So I think that balance is what makes a good doctor.
It's like
A successful
social,
doctor. Yeah.
yeah, like confidence, like being able to
Reassure.
Knowing when you need to do
convince.
things to convince people they are right, and knowing when your words are adequate, and striking that balance.
It's a social skill.
It's a social skill. Absolutely. It is absolutely a social skill. Of course, you need to have your full armamentarium of knowledge so that you don't make mistakes and that you're giving the patient the best up-to-date advice. But it goes way beyond there in convincing, giving patients a sense of confidence.
Okay, and with that, what advice would you give? Like, if you can think of one advice to give medical students or individuals who are considering a career in healthcare, what would it be?
I have to say, my advice would be based on a totally different picture of what medicine is today and from what it was in my time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you need to go into medicine loving it, loving the subject, loving the challenge of diagnosis, loving the challenge of treating, loving the science of medicine. I think if you love that and not get put off by having to work hard, slogging for very little financial return, not seeing the end of the light, the tunnel for a long, long time, then living in that moment when you're on call, when you've got a challenging case in ER, you have not slept. If you're loving that moment still, though you're tired and fed up, then you're in the right place. Because if you work hard and if you enjoy that challenge, then the rewards will come in later that make it all that more satisfying. But if you're not going to enjoy that, if you're looking just at the goal, at what your ultimate destination or your ambition is to be a neurosurgeon here or a cosmetic surgeon somewhere or if you're looking just at the end, then you'll find it miserable.
You can't wait to get to the end.
Yeah. You need to just patiently take your time. I mean, when I came back, I could have gone into private medicine after 3 years of government service, which is compulsory. But I loved it. I loved working like 12 hours a day in university hospital and the material that was coming in, good camaraderie with my colleagues. Just, working in a team. Working in a team is a wonderful feeling. That's why I could never go into general practice. I think working in solitude would not be my idea of a career. So medicine and a team, going on team ward round, doing things together, having a laugh along the way is so important. Enjoying the whole business, right?
You have to find joy in the small things.
Yes.
And you also have to really like people. That's how you
Yeah.
Well, I think we actually come to the end of the episode. So thank you for speaking to us today. It was really insightful. We got to know a little bit about your background, your story, and it was quite inspiring. We also got to know a little bit about our futures, perhaps how technology is going to enhance our experience in the medical field, and also how we as doctors should behave when we go into our jobs, I guess, when we start working. So thank you for accepting our invitation to tell us a bit about your life.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming over all the way here to spend your Saturday afternoon in CBS.
Yep. Thank you so much, Dr. Thurai. And I hope that the audience has learned something from this episode. And I hope you guys are inspired as well. And so thank you so much for sticking to the end. So do keep an eye out for our next podcast entitled The Art of Healing, where we'll be focusing on how to approach trauma and how to heal psychologically and how the experience of healing will be like. And remember to follow us on AMSA IMU on Instagram and watch out for our upcoming events in October. Until then, stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.